The grand hall of the Empire stretched for nearly a mile. Crystal pillars rose toward a ceiling that displayed the swirling galaxies the Empire had conquered over 10,000 years. Representatives from 300 species filled the observation platforms. They had come to witness what they believed would be the formal surrender of humanity. Emperor sat upon his throne made from the bones of extinct civilizations. His 4 eyes watched the small human delegation enter through the massive doors. The human group consisted of only 7 individuals. They wore simple black suits with small blue badges on their chests. No armor, no weapons that the scanners could detect. The guards had laughed when the humans arrived in their tiny ship. The lead human was a woman named Sarah. She walked with calm steps across the polished floor. Her hair was tied back. Her face showed no fear. Behind her walked 6 others of different ages and backgrounds. The youngest was barely 20 years old. The oldest was a man who needed a cane to walk. The assembled alien representatives whispered among themselves. These were the creatures who had resisted the mighty fleet for 3 solar cycles. High Commander Seuss stepped forward. He was the one who had led the invasion of human space. His scaled body was covered in medals from 100 victories. He had personally destroyed 12 human colony worlds. He had watched their cities burn from orbit. He had felt nothing but contempt for these small, soft creatures who bled so easily. "You stand before the eternal throne of the Empire," Seuss announced. His voice echoed through translation devices across the hall. "You have been granted the honor of surrender. Your species will be integrated into our labor forces. Your worlds will serve our needs. This is mercy. Accept it." Sarah stood still. She looked up at the Emperor on his throne. Then she looked at Seuss. Then she slowly turned and looked at all the alien representatives watching from their platforms. Every eye in the hall was on her. The silence was complete. "3 years ago," Sarah began, her voice steady and clear, "your fleet arrived at the edge of our solar system. You gave us 12 hours to surrender. You said resistance was foolish. You said we were primitive. You said we had no hope." Seuss laughed. Several other officers joined him. The sound filled the hall. "And we were correct," Seuss said. "Your resistance cost you 12 worlds. Your fleet is destroyed. Yours is surrounded. You have nothing left." Sarah nodded slowly. "Yes, you destroyed our ships. You burned our colonies. You killed billions of our people." She paused. "And you made a mistake." The laughter stopped. Emperor leaned forward on his throne. His 4 eyes narrowed. "What mistake?" he demanded. Sarah reached into her pocket. Every weapon in the hall immediately pointed at her. Guards rushed forward, but she only pulled out a small data device. She held it up for everyone to see. "You invaded our home," she said simply. She pressed a button on the device. Holographic displays appeared throughout the hall. They showed star maps. They showed fleet positions. They showed things that made the commanders freeze in their seats. The first image showed the home system. It showed the 3 military stations that protected their capital world. It showed the defense grid that had kept them safe for thousands of years. Then the image changed. The stations were gone. The defense grid was gone. In their place floated wreckage and dust. "Impossible," Seuss whispered. "That is impossible." The next image showed the shipyards in the Nexus sector. These yards produced half of the Empire's warships. The image showed them burning. Human vessels moved through the debris, small and fast and deadly. "You see," Sarah continued, "when you invaded our space, you taught us something valuable. You taught us how you fight. You taught us your strategies. You taught us your weaknesses. We are a young species. We learn quickly." Emperor stood from his throne. His royal guards surrounded him with energy shields, but there was fear in his 4 eyes now, real fear. "How?" he demanded. "Your fleet was destroyed." The old man with the cane stepped forward. His name was Admiral James Wright. He had commanded the human defense fleet. Everyone thought he had died in the Battle of Mars. "You destroyed the fleet we showed you," he said. "The real fleet was somewhere else." More images appeared. They showed human ships emerging from hidden bases in asteroid fields. They showed vessels coming out of the dark spaces between stars where no one ever looked. They showed a fleet twice the size of anything that had faced. For 3 years you focused on our colonies, Sarah said. You burned our homes, you celebrated your victories, and while you were busy destroying what we let you find, we were building. We were learning. We were preparing. A admiral ran to a communication station. He tried to contact the home system. There was no response. He tried the shipyards, silence. He tried the supply depots, nothing. Your supply lines are cut, Sarah said. Your reinforcement routes are blocked. The fleet surrounding Earth is now surrounded itself. Every ship you have in our space is trapped. Suze drew his energy blade. We still have the largest army in the galaxy. We still have we will burn your planet to nothing. Sarah looked at him with something like pity. No, you will not. She pressed another button on her device. The holographic displays changed again. They showed Earth. They showed the invasion fleet in orbit, and they showed something rising from the planet's surface. Hundreds of missiles, thousands of missiles, more missiles than any species had ever seen in one place. They had been hidden in mountains. They had been hidden under oceans. They had been hidden in underground bunkers built over decades. You assumed we were a peaceful species, Sarah said. You assumed we had no weapons because we never used them against you. You assumed wrong. The images showed the missiles hitting the fleet. Ship after ship exploded. The great carriers that had dominated human space for 3 years turned into fireballs. The invasion army never reached the ground. They died in orbit, surrounded by the wreckage of their own ships. This cannot be, Emperor said. His voice was no longer commanding. It was broken. We are the Empire. We have conquered 300 species. We have ruled for 10,000 years. Sarah walked closer to the throne. The guards tried to stop her, but she walked through them like they were not there. She stopped at the base of the steps leading up to the Emperor. You conquered species that surrendered, she said. You conquered species that gave up. You conquered species that accepted defeat. She looked directly into his 4 eyes. Humans do not surrender. Humans do not give up. Humans do not accept defeat. You can burn our cities. You can destroy our ships. You can kill billions of us. And we will keep fighting. We will keep building. We will keep coming. That is what we are. The young woman in the human delegation spoke for the first time. Her name was Maria Santos. Her entire family had died when they destroyed the colony on New Madrid. My mother died protecting children during your attack, she said. Her last words were, remember. I remember. Every human remembers, and we always will. The man with the cane nodded. You asked for our surrender. We have a different proposal. He activated his own device. More images appeared. These showed colony worlds. They showed cities. They showed civilians going about their daily lives. Human ships floated in orbit above each one. Right now, Admiral Wright said, we have the ability to do to you what you did to us. We have ships above your colony worlds. We have weapons pointed at your cities. We could kill billions of your people before your remaining forces could stop us. Fear spread through the hall like fire. The representatives looked at each other in panic. The Emperor gripped the arms of his throne until his claws cracked the ancient bone. But we will not, Sarah said. The hall went silent again. Every being stared at her in confusion. We are not you, she continued. We do not burn worlds. We do not murder civilians. We do not destroy species. We are humans. We fight those who attack us. We defeat those who threaten us, but we do not become monsters to do it. She held up the data device again. Here are our terms. Your military withdraws from all human space. Your empire signs a non-aggression treaty. You release all human prisoners. You pay reparations for the colonies you destroyed. And you never threaten humanity again. Emperor stared at her. And if we refuse? Sarah smiled. It was not a happy smile. Then we will remove your ability to refuse. We will not kill your civilians, but we will destroy every warship, every military base, every weapon factory, and every command center you have. We will reduce your empire to a collection of undefended worlds, and then we will leave you to the mercy of all the species you have conquered over 10,000 years. I suspect they remember too. The hall erupted in noise. The representatives of conquered species were shouting. Some were cheering. Others were calling for the destruction of the empire had made many enemies over the emperor looked around his great hall. He looked at his commanders who had no fleets left to command. He looked at his guards who could not protect him from the fury of 300 species. He looked at the small human woman who had walked into the heart of his empire and turned his victory into ashes. "We accept your terms," he said quietly. Sarah nodded. She turned and walked back to her delegation. The 7 humans moved toward the exit. They had won, not with the largest fleet, not with the strongest weapons, not with the most advanced technology. They had won because they refused to give up. They had won because they learned from their enemies. They had won because they remembered. As Sarah reached the doors, she stopped and looked back at the Emperor one last time. "Remember this day," she said. "Remember that humanity asked for peace and you chose war. Remember that we wanted friendship and you chose invasion. Remember that we offered mercy and you offered slavery. And remember that when you pushed us to our limits, we pushed back harder than you ever imagined possible." She walked through the doors and did not look back again. The Galactic Empire had learned a lesson that day. Some species should not be conquered. Some species should not be invaded. Some species will never, ever surrender. The humans were such a species, and now the entire galaxy knew it. In the years that followed, humanity became known as the species that defeated the Empire. Other civilizations sought alliances with Earth. Trade routes opened. Peace spread through sectors that had known only war for centuries. And whenever a hostile power considered attacking human space, they remembered the story of that day. They remembered the small woman who walked into the heart of an empire and made an emperor surrender. They remembered the lesson that they had learned too late. Never invade humanity's home. They will always find a way to take it back.